Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Idam Bhagavatam Namah Puranam Brahma Sangitam Aditavam Dvarparo Pitu Dvai Panayat Aham. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sangitam Aditatvam Dvaparato Pitu Dvaipayanataham. At the end of Dwarapara Yuga, I studied this Mahapurana. Srimad believed that to be the highest standard of education, and you are the fittest man to receive it. Therefore, I shall deliver it to you. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 1, text 8. Saying this, Srila Shukadeva Goswami began to talk the Bhagavatam for Parikshit Maharaj. And there he gave the principle of classes. To receive descending spiritual knowledge in this way is the method of the deductive school. And that disease produces the I, me, my vision, mission. And that is not very easy to tolerate. It's not very easy to tolerate for anybody. Today I will talk about a situation which many devotees face in their lifetime. The peculiar situation you enter when you do not a Vaishnava. It sounds like a lack of humility, but it may not be so. It may be also because those who are around you do not inspire by their behavior, and they do not inspire by their ability of giving shelter to others. But you, as a preacher, are supposed to give shelter to others, to somebody who's giving shelter. And if you take somebody to something in which they feel to humanity, because when I preach, the least thing I want to know is that the people I preach to, they can be happy and progress in Krishna consciousness. This is my duty. I like to compare, and having his own children, he usually understands that he has to provide a new space for those who are going to be under his shelter, wife and children. He can understand that. Because most likely, those situations like the old Indian tradition of the big family house with the old grandpa in charge of everything, or the grandma, and that all these children and the grandchildren, they're all functioning harmoniously and under one authority. That may be so. That may exist. But it is not very common. At least not today. And therefore, when a person starts thinking about forming his own family, then he has to think about how to provide the proper space and environment for him to be able to give guidance and shelter to those who are depending on that. Now, coming back to a Vaishnava mission, like when you open a new temple, this is very much like starting a new family, because every temple has its own dynamics. And the dynamics of sadhana, the dynamics of puja, the dynamics of preaching, all these dynamics may point out towards the great ISKCON mission, because I was spiritually born in that mission, meaning I received the initiation from my beloved Guru Paramatma, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And thus I entered into different environments. The German Hansatuta environment, then there were the British environment, then there was the French environment, the Scandinavian environments. And in the environments, there were again many temples, the Berlin temple, the Hamburg temple, this temple, that temple, and different devotees who were taking responsibility. All that was working to a certain degree, because there was a loving relationship with the local representative of Srila Prabhupada. But when that relationship started to become shaky, then devotees very quickly did not very clearly know which way to turn, how to start going full power. So later, when Srila Prabhupada left, and that was not very long after, then all of a sudden we found that an administrative system was established where there was zonal, they were expected, chosen by the GBC, will give shelter. Now, sounds nice, but in the practice, it didn't work very well. Because first of all, that person was too busy. Can you imagine? There were GBC gurus with 40 countries under their care, which means from the very beginning they could not look up, but from one GBC guru go to the other one, then go to the other one. And if they had family, a wife and children, then it became even more of a disaster, because how can you switch your whole family into another part of the world? Anyway, it was an amazing, your whole family into another part of the world. Anyway, it was an amazing movement of people, but you see, the final result was that the greater amount of disciples of Srila Prabhupada became disenfranchised from the preaching, meaning they finally ended up living somewhere outside and doing their private life or something. Or they were looking for some shelter with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Puri Maharaj, later with Srila Narayan Maharaj, and others. Sometimes even with those who were not fully in the tradition. The disenfranchising, that's just a way of saying it. You can say you don't feel at home. You don't feel safe in preaching. Maybe you're not feeling safe for yourself, for your personal security, or you don't feel safe for those who are coming to the family, who then will be under the authority of other people. Of course, there's always an element of Kali Yuga misunderstanding and not so pleasant characters. Definitely there is. When I moved in my personal way, I ended up in South America, and I ended up with Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj, he was a very bright mind, very intelligent, and he had lots of association of Srila Prabhupada. But he was very arrogant. He always called the people around himself with funny names, you know. It was, and administratively, he wasn't very good. So, and then he was not very happy when other leaders became popular with the devotees. This is here what is this jealousy. When people become jealous, then it's very difficult to provide shelter in a jealous environment. So, what is this human nature? Let's look upon it psychologically. Let's look upon it from the side of Krishna's plan. Let's go back to Srila Prabhupada's mission. When people were not getting along with each other, Prabhupada handled that very easily and quickly, separating them and giving both of them his love and trust in separate locations. In this way, Prabhupada solved problems thousands of times, and that's how hundreds of temples were established. People not getting along with each other and going to different places. To some degree, it was not very transcendental what the devotees were developing. I can remember a time there was the South European zone of Prabhupada's ISKCON and the North European zone of Prabhupada's ISKCON, Hensulut on one side, Bhagavan on the other side. But they were prohibited. It was like, no, don't associate with these. They are from the Southern zone. Sounds crazy, no? But that was the reality. And I had done service in the other zone because there was a shift of zone where Britain, England, was changed from the North American zone, from the North European zone to the South European zone. And I had so many friends in Britain, and all of a sudden they were like, don't associate with them. I could understand this is mad. Of course, any sane person would understand. It's mad, the system. But somehow you get wrapped into this feeling, my group, I, me, mine, vision, mission. Then we prefer to take a distance from that person. We are preferring to associate with Vaishnavas who are very humble. Like when people see you there. So it was extreme. Whereas Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was so humble. At one time, Yasomati Nandan Prabhu from ISKCON, he came with a GBC message to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And he said, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, stay, you want to break ISKCON. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, I'm a form breaker, not a form maker. So form, so the institution, the form, if the institution or the form contradicts the essence, contradicts the free flow of devotion, then it's to be rejected, or it's to be adjusted or corrected. But you cannot just go ahead with the rotten form. That does not help. That doesn't serve the purpose of the transcendental Lord who's behind everything. He is preaching to the conditioned souls, but the conditioned souls, they are still quite conditioned, as we notice. So another thing Srila Maharaj said was very interesting, that he said, Yasomati Nanda said, they say so many things bad about you. And Srila Maharaj, that's what they say about me? Really? Oh, that's because they don't know how bad really I am. Otherwise, they would say a lot of more things. Huh? So then everybody was chuckling. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj was humility personified. And he wanted all of us to be preachers. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he wanted all of his disciples to become spiritual masters. Why? Because you are in a school. You're in a school of becoming spiritual. Now look at this. When you are born, you are getting the seed from your father. When you're going to make your own family, then you become Guru Mata, Guru Pita. There is transcendental guruship. Immediately. There is, if you have father or mother, you become the spiritual master. You can't help it. So that means you're 20 years old, 25 years old. Now you have disciples. So you better learn quickly how to become a spiritual master. But if you're a temple president, you always have to have this attitude that now the people under my care, I have to be the servant. You see, the guru is a servant of his disciple. He actually is. He feels himself. The Guru is giving me, the disciple is giving me mercy that I can serve my Guru by serving my disciple. In the real attitude of spiritual life, we only want to be the servant. Therefore, it is very, very strange that some institutions, they don't want to see the disenfranchised members. I made many approaches towards ISKCON over the years, saying, please, let's talk, let's become sister societies, let's work for the purpose of the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajsabha. We are one family, really. I made many approaches, and I was always rejected. Nobody would even listen to me or talk to me or reason with me, even though my reasoning was absolutely on the basis of what I experienced in the Vaishnava world, and what I saw was really solutions. Anyhow, it wasn't meant to be that time or that way. Who knows what the future is going to bring? Because the situation of disenfranchised devotees always also situation. It produces a situation that you start realizing it's up to me now. It's not up to an institution to solve my problems or to solve the problems of the people coming to me and my family. No, it's up to me. And that is the reality. The reality of a preacher, it's up to me and divine grace, of course. Everything depends on divine grace, on how Guru Tattva wants to descend through you and wants to help you, wants to inspire you, wants to utilize you. That's why we pray, oh my Lord, please let me be an instrument of your love. Supposedly, that's what every devotee wants. We are not here to utilize an institution to create an ego field where I can do what I like and I could even exploit others. No, this is not Vaishnava at all. Therefore, Vaishnava is very oriented towards the domestic interactions and affairs. And the domestic interactions and affairs it's up to you. Therefore, when Prabhupada said, I want all my disciples to become spiritual master by 1974 and initiate people in this process, he wasn't just like in a fantasy. No, he was very clear that he wanted Krishna consciousness to spread, the real Krishna consciousness. And he could already see that the institutional format, it doesn't provide shelter. He could see that. Because you see, in the Gaudiya Math, already the same experience was had. That the institutions, it was trying to sustain. There was this way, they divided some temples, and the people became independent and started preaching on their own. So Prabhupada saw that, knew very well that the institutions, they are not likely to provide shelter. Maybe they're a good place to start off, no? To get the first experience. But then when you see that there's too much diplomacy and there is too much bureaucracy, then it doesn't work. Then you have to move on. But you don't move away, you move on towards Krishna. That's when you understand that the institution is not the highest. If you think the institution is the highest, the institution is failing, then you become disenchanted. You want to go and forget it. Huh? They don't do it. They had the institution under their control. It didn't work for them. So how will it work for me? So I'm going back into my private sector. No, that's not what Krishna consciousness is. That's why when you take initiation, when Guru accepts you, there's no paper signed. There's no contract made. You don't go to notary public and says, okay, now he's my disciple, he has to do what I say. Forget it. It's a heart-to-heart transaction. It's only because you really feel sheltered and guided under this person that you say, no, I will give my energy, I will give my love, my blood, sweat, and tears I will give here to make this mission successful. So those who are disenfranchised, they should gain their energy from the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajsabha. Because the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajsabha is the support of the principle. It is a support of the essence. It doesn't support forms, much less forms which are fractured or perverted or misused. Such forms will not be supported by the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajsabha, because that's the concept of Rupa Sanatan, Jiva Goswami, and all these acharyas who come down and who have provided or have maintained this movement in different efforts. Like when Narottam Das Thakur went to Manipur, or when he preached there, it was one Vaishnava against all the Manipuris there, and he conquered their king, and so many thousands of people became Vaishnavas. And another person went to Bengal, another went to Orissa, and in this way now our Bhaktidaita Madhava Maharaj, he went to Punjab and started conquering people in Punjab. Then Bhaktivedanta Swami went to America and started conquering America and other countries. And so in this way, different people have gone to different areas and conquered space for Lord Chaitanya. And that's very good. And conquering space and how to administrate that space, that's also important. For that, we actually need institutions to register properties properly, that they will not be later misused or deviated from the divine purpose to some private use. So there are certain things, structures, they're necessary, but higher than the structure is the essence. The essence is everything belongs to Krishna and everything has to be used for Krishna, and everybody is free to do for Krishna the best he can understand. So that is what is said is Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Sangitam. He says, because I see that you are qualified, therefore I shall deliver it to you. So the guru, he gives to the disciple everything he has, everything he knows, so that the disciple can develop it and go and hopefully get more success than the guru himself. Guru wants to see his disciple not like a secondary, third rank soldier. No, he wants him to become the king of the preachers. He wants him to be able to give the love to Krishna to so many people. So today we have so many disenfranchised devotees, and they have all kinds of conceptions, but the Vishwa Vaishnava Rajsabha is just being established within this environment of disenchantment. Disenfranchised also means that you don't have a home. You don't feel at home somewhere. It's like many temples will say, oh, you can come here, you can do service here, but do I feel at home there? Can I preach there according to my fullest heart's content? Srila Bhakti Rakshak Maharaj taught us one very classical aspect. That classical aspect was that every disciple has the right and duty to give to others what he received from his Guru Dev to his fullest heart's content. You better get that one. That was Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Every disciple has the right and duty to give to others what he received from his spiritual master to his fullest heart's content. He has to be happy. Yes, I'm giving this. This is the truth. This is valuable. This will serve you. If I'm dead here now, you just continue with what you received and you will get Krishna's support. You already got Krishna's support. Krishna brought you to where you are now. And he will give you answers when things get difficult. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is for those who are free from the disease of such a mean, egotistic feeling. The student that come forward to read the Bhagavatam must be of such character that they have conquered the mean, egoistic sentiment of considering oneself to be all in all. So the I, me, mine vision, when it becomes a mission, that's a deviated vision. deviated mission. When that sort of mean, egoistic feeling is removed, one will be fit to study Bhagavatam, and they will successfully imbibe the teachings herein and make a great and inconceivable divine improvement in their life and in the life of others. That is what the Guru does. That's what a good father does. That's what a good mother does. They always want to improve the standard of life of the others. So when devotees, now I personally experienced it very seriously, because when I joined my Sannyas Shiksha Guru, then definitely my opinion was not appreciated in the movement where I had given 13 years of my hard work, supposedly. And then when I was with Srila Sridharmaj from until 1988, when he left the world, then also in the Chaitanya Saraswat Math, a new mission came. The mission with Srila Sridharmaj was perfectly able to have many gurus coming together and creating a kind of a great environment. But after Srila Sridharmaj left, honestly speaking, the disciples of Govinda Maharaj, and maybe even Govinda Maharaj himself, preferred to be an environment like one guru and his disciples, and not many gurus. This thing, many gurus in one place, is very difficult. We have seen that with Srila Harijan Maharaj, it was wonderful. But we already seen it that it doesn't work always. And practically, if you go into the Vrinda Parivar experience, my goodness, no? Even the sannyasis in one country, they would not want to associate with other sannyasis in the same country. What to speak of sannyasis in other countries? They were like very limited in their perception. And that became a disturbance. In the end, it became such a disturbance that now Vrinda Parivar are those who feel from their heart that they are allowed to preach and they want to preach. To be a member of the Vrinda Parivar today means you have to be an active preacher, or you have to really love an active preacher and give your support to him. That is also in the free range. Therefore, we say in Colombia, either you give the axe to somebody or you cut the wood yourself. But don't keep the axe and don't cut the wood. Then you're becoming an impediment for the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Vedyam Vashtavam Atra Vashtu Shivadam. See also Shloka 126. I'm not dealing with an imaginary concoction. This is Vashtava Vastu, a realistic thought which death and mortality cannot challenge. I'm dealing with such a thing here. The whole world you're living in is unreal. But what I'm dealing with here is the only reality. The realistic thought is not unreal. The finer realm, we must allow ourselves to be utilized by it. In other words, we must come to the position of slavery. We shall have to realize that mastership here in the mortal world is a curse, and that slavery in that higher world is a boon. What does that mean? Well, it means you are the slave of those who are your serving. That's why, for example, to send somebody away from a temple, that is really the last emergency measure when somebody is such a great nuisance and disturbance. Otherwise, you can never think of it, because you're the servant of them. You're the servant of the people who are coming and trying to do something. Yesterday we heard something about that also. Tirthamaj was saying about one was only chanting or eating prasadam, and the other was only serving and not chanting rounds. No? But still, they were all in the family and they were accommodated according to the divine will of Krishna. So we can see that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a school. a divine school, which is teaching through the disciplic succession, the great, great, great teachings of surrender and loving service. And surrender and loving service does not necessarily mean a lot of scriptural knowledge. As a matter of fact, I may say so, and it's not pleasant to say, that many people who have gone very much into the knowledge side, memorized, and they argue and counter argue whenever little topics come up. They get so mental about it, but in the practical life, they don't have much love for the others. It's just only argument. And many devotees, even scholars in Prabhupada's movement, left the movement with all their scholarly acquisitions. So I'm not against reading books, but the books should be worshipped in company of the devotees and loving service, not just to become a reading, profound memorizing of shlokas and everything, but in practical life you are not willing to give shelter to others. There we come to the point of giving shelter. Who is really giving shelter? Can an institution give shelter? Only if it provides the space for people in the institution to really give shelter to others. However, that may work or not work, like in a Vinda Parivar. You are a member of a family of Vaishnavas, and you have to give shelter to others. But you also have association, advice of elder devotees. As a matter of fact, even I'm still alive. I can still harmonize, I can still explain things. This is a kind of a unique situation in Vrinda Pariva, because mostly when the Guru, uh, which I'm a servant of my Guru, but when the Guru leaves the world, it's a vacuum. It's a very difficult period which comes to the disciples. So therefore, we have to get rid of all the nirmatsara, all the jealousy, all the envy. And we just have to be ready to train our people to become self-reliant and responsible, and to give to others what they have received from their Guru to the fullest degree, so that others can really take shelter of them and advance in Krishna consciousness. And the Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha is there to train you for that. That's in the Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. You can associate with many acharyas, very big acharyas, with many disciples, with many temples, and you can listen to them. You can ask your questions to them, and you try to learn from them or get inspired by them, or even serve them for some time, whatever may be the appropriate for you. And in this way, you can position yourself again into some shelter giving function somewhere in the world, some field, on the internet, in the family, outside the family, as a grihasta, as a sannyasi, doesn't matter. Everybody shall be happily accommodated in the family of Krishna consciousness. That is the promise of our acharyas. And that is not an institutional promise. That is a promise by the essence of Bhakti Yoga. By following this essence, we will find the solution. And that's why we want also many festivals and coming together, and we have platforms. And of course, number one is personal association. So all the personal association which is provided in different fields by different Vaishnavas, members, and those who those who believe in this divine interaction, they can all help. So we are getting so much help, coming to Mayapur, so much help, seeing so many acharyas, so much help, seeing their disciples, so much help, see how they're happy, how they're surrendered. When you're just becoming a devotee, the acharyas alive, that is such a happy energy which comes from that. And we know they'll have problems later, When it becomes a question of who's going to continue that and who's going to take charge of the building or who's going to go out and make a new mission here and there, there'll be some problems everywhere. As a matter of fact, there are. We can see in the different Gaudiya Maths, in the different branches of ISKCON, everywhere there's problems. But these problems should be understood to be like the mosquitoes in Mayapur. There's plenty of mosquitoes here. And what do? They bite. That's what they do. But there's no reason not to come to Mayapur for that. And we should also understand that this is the training, this is the pain of growth, of understanding. And when I go and look at the difficulties, for example, the criticism of ISKCON to Gaudiya Math or Gaudiya Math to ISKCON or inside the Gaudiya Math, I tell you, I have seen it, I can vouch for it. The difficulty they have one with each other. They are all between childish, insignificant, exaggerated, ego trips, and such things. Nothing which could not be solved in a one serious conversation with a real sadhu. One serious conversation with a real sadhu who both sides accept, immediately it would be solved. Because in Krishna consciousness, everybody should be happily accommodated. And that's what Krishna is doing in his own way. Look at Mayapur. How many temples are there here on one road? And they're all happily accommodated. And when you go there, all of them say, oh, you're coming visit us. So friendly, no? And maybe they hope you give a donation, or maybe they hope you want to listen to their harikatha, or maybe they hope you're just going to share some of your wisdom with them. You know, it's all open field and very beautiful. So the difficulties between devotees are not real difficulties. I don't know one single case where devotees have a motivation to hit each other or to hurt each other. Maybe that has happened in one or the another case by the modes of nature getting out of control, or maybe some people even have dragged issues to courts because they didn't accept higher devotees to solve the problem. No? Because in the end, if you go to the court with any issue, you get a karmi to decide. If you would go to the court of the devotees, like we have in the Vaishnava Raj Sabha, we have the conflict resolution committee, and serious, and I've seen it in action. Bhakti Vichar Vishnu Maharaj solved some problems that was here in one of the missions. So these things are definitely there, that there's somebody a little bit of scuffling about who takes control or this or that. I can testify for that. I have no problem with, I mean, if somebody steals from Krishna, that's a different story, and that is between Krishna and him, because if he steals from Krishna, he will not get the mercy of Krishna. And stealing, maybe they're here and there. But like let's say there's $100 and there's two devotees, and they say, I want to spend it this for Krishna. The other one says, I want to spend it this way for Krishna. Oh, I don't like your way. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, you spend 50, you spend 50. No, I want to spend 100. Okay, you spend 100, I go and get 1,000. What is the big deal? We have seen magic missions come up out of nowhere. We see that so many beautiful temples are being constructed everywhere, and it just needs good devotees who want to look after them. That is rather more required than anything else. So there is no problems. If there are problems, they're created by the jealousy or by the I, me, mine vision, mission. That, oh no, we are the best, we stay separate. We don't join this or that. We are the real Vishwa Vaishnava Raj Sabha. We don't need. And some people say, like the joke, the ISKCON, beautiful ISKCON movement, I love it, has a big Gaudiya Math logo in that main gate, put there by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The logo of the Gaudiya Math. But then you go there and they say, oh, we don't like Gaudiya Math. Wait a second. You are a Gaudiya Math. Can't you get it? You are a Gaudiya Math, and you have to do things according to your best understanding, according to your Guru's vision. And your Guru's vision and his mission was very noble and very great. He wanted everybody to become a spiritual master. How does that work? He started the Bhaktivedanta Institute for Scientific Challenge of the Material World. He started the Bhakti Vedanta Charity Trust to fix all the temples of all the different branches of the Sampradaya, including of his god brothers. So forget this miser, teeny, narrow-minded visions. Forget it. Please come to your senses. Embrace your brothers. Embrace all your brothers in Krishna consciousness. They are all over. We go around, we have no time to even hug all the people we want to hug and to and appreciate and support. And when people take shelter of them, we are so happy because, wait a second, how many people you can look after? This is very limited. Everybody can only give shelter and guide and know and care a limited number. Of course, it depends on the case. Srila Prabhupada, definitely an exception. Narottam Das Thakur also. And there are so many other exceptions. How good they are, how bad they are, that time will show. I, for myself, I accepted too many disciples in my life, in too many places. And in the end, I could not keep them even in my memory, all of them. So I understood I should have given over my mission to the disciples quite a few years before. But Krishna arranged it this way, and now it's up to them. It's in their hands how to continue the family. And I'm praying for Krishna, for them all the time. All the time. If I can still do some help for them, I also will be doing there. So in this way, I close here the words on how to conquer jealousness in the spirit of Vishwa Vaishnava Rajshava and embrace your identity of Dasha Dasha Anudas, the Vaishnava family in all its branches and sub-branches, and also other sampradayas, which are also spreading Krishna consciousness in one way or another. Hari Bol.